Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here on time, waiting for this broadcast to start. We're waiting for a few more people to come in. And so while we're waiting, we wanted to show you a quick video about what affirmation means to so many in the LGBTQI Mormon community. I hope you enjoy.
I thought I might be the only gay Mormon in the whole of the UK.
I needed a family, and they came together for me. When I came out, my family didn't want anything to do with me.
I was looking and hoping for a community of support for people who would honor my own personal agency.
I went to my first conference 5 years ago. It was kind of the first time that I had been in a space where I was really able to be all of me. The part that is Mormon, the part that is queer.
A afirmação transformou em minha vida. Tinha muita tristeza, realmente muita tristeza, por entender que vivia em pecado ou que o Senhor não me aceitaria como sou. E após conhecer a afirmação, eu entendi e compreendi que eu poderia fazer mais pelas pessoas e por mim mesma.
I was serving as a YSA bishop and had a few LGBTQ kids in my ward, and listening to them kind of transformed me.
Para mí, afirmación es un lugar donde mi alma puede sonar. Es un lugar donde mi alma se siente libre y se siente paz.
For many years of my life, I allowed society at large to determine who I am and my worth. And through affirmation and the people I've met here, I've come to discover that I offer something very unique to the world.
I found affirmation when I was in a really dark place. Affirmation brings me peace and hope.
It's always been really important for me to find groups where there are people who understand at least some aspect of my experience.
My family, when I came out, were completely shocked. My extended family just wanted to pretend that nothing was happening. That was extremely painful for me.
Não foi fácil me aceitar, foi difícil. Eu tive muita dificuldade, chorava, me sentia depressivo. E foi onde um dia eu coloquei na internet Mormons gays e apareceu a afirmação.
Affirmation came along at a time in my life where I was feeling fairly self-conscious about me as a trans woman and me as a trans Mormon.
I am a Mormon mother of 3. Our oldest daughter, Annie, came out as gay when she was about 13.
What affirmation means to me is safe space, safe people, family away from my own family.
Being gay and active in the church is kind of not the norm that we see usually. Affirmation does a really good job at combining those things together.
Afirmación me enseña que este es el plan que Dios me dio para mí y que realmente Dios me ama tal cual soy.
From the first time I walked in the door at the first Affirmation London conference, that was a life-changing experience for me. We don't judge each other, we just enjoy each other's company. And when we're together, we can feel at home, relaxed and at peace.
Participo de afirmación porque me siento seguro, me siento espontáneo, puedo ser yo mismo sin ser juzgado y sin ser señalado.
I found a place where I could kind of reclaim my Mormonness in a way that I could also be queer.
Affirmation is for me because it unites me with my LGBTQ brothers and sisters, and it helps me be a better ally and a better person.
Afirmación ha venido a ser para mí ayudarnos mutuamente.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us for an evening of affirmation. Really excited to have you join myself and Affirmation President and Senior Vice President Nathan Kitchen and Lori Lee Hall. And we have them on the screen right now. If they'll just wave. We have a nice evening of conversation about the work of affirmation at this time, especially during this time of COVID-19. By way of just introducing the evening and framing our discussion, we are going to hear from our president, Nathan Kitchen. So we will throw it to him.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for joining with us tonight. I just wanted to give you a special welcome and welcome you really to the new normal that we all have encountered here the past few months. We've just felt it important to come together in a way we really have been as an international community. Since the COVID-19 quarantines and outbreaks, to be able to connect in some way and talk with you about what Affirmation is up to, and maybe to help you get to know the executive committee a bit more. I know for me, we have definitely all learned new ways how to connect with one another. Whether it be connecting differently at school, through work, social events, even news conferences. I remember lately I listened to a news article or a news blog, and it was on NPR, and Louise, you could hear the birds in the background because she was on her patio speaking to a national audience, and it was in some ways very refreshing, and it made it much more real than what you would typically hear in a professional studio. To me, it helped bring the news home and helped realize that we're really all pretty much the same, and we're connected in all these very special ways. But there's no doubt about it that we have to learn how to connect in these very different ways, in ways that initially have been, I think, hard for us. And initially connecting maybe online and Zoom meetings and other ways that have been unfamiliar, it's almost acted like a barrier for us. What do we do? Especially those of us who are very social. I think about me, I was able, after 6 weeks of being ordered closed at my dental practice by the governor of Arizona, I was able Monday to go back to work. And there are specific things that I have to do to put a barrier between that was not in place before COVID-19. And as I have entered into kind of a new normal in doing dental work, I have things in between me like a face shield and a big N95 mask. And I have to learn how to deal better when I work with patients. And it's something that I have to overcome. But I am figuring it out, and I think that all of us in this community are also figuring this out, how we can connect to each other. As an Affirmation community, we get together really well, and we've had some ways where we have done that. We've had family home evenings. We've had even more online gatherings. There's been talent shows that Affirmation has had. And then I'm also pleased to announce that beginning the last Sunday of every month, Affirmation will hold a fireside. And this will be a special evening event where we do a fireside for the entire community. And the first fireside will be the last Sunday here in May, which is May the 31st. And it will be at 7:00 p.m. Mountain. So be watching our information about that. And I invite you to that. I invite you to all the things that we do together to be able to provide community for each other as LGBTQ people. So thank you.
Thank you, Nathan, for that great overview of where we are right now as an organization and things that we're focused on. Lori Lee is going to speak to us a bit about Affirmation as a worldwide community and how we've been organizing and reorganizing lately.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this broadcast. We're all very grateful that you have taken time to hear what we might offer and to feel some of our excitement with regard to the progress and growth of Affirmation. We remember that today is the Giving Tuesday, and we're seeking, as we meet tonight, an opportunity to, as we explained, to seek your support. My topic, as was mentioned, is the worldwide progress of affirmation. And when we became an executive committee a little over a year and a half ago, one of the largest issues before us was the worldwide growth of this organization. We had significant progress taking place in Latin America. We were beginning to see growth in parts of Europe, and connections and contacts were being made in parts of Asia and Oceania. We were aware of people in Africa that wanted support and help. As you would know, community and community building, particularly face-to-face community, is critical to the mission of affirmation. And in reality, the individual, the LGBTQ person or ally or their family member or friend in affirmation is the most critical part of our organization. And bringing individuals together in community where sharing, particularly sharing personally, face-to-face, is of utmost importance to us. What we saw was a need to organize ourselves in a way that we could, from our role as an executive committee and as a board of directors in affirmation, provide ongoing connectivity and support as efficiently as possible to leaders in specific locations around the world. I was able to bring together ideas that I was familiar with from work that I had done during my professional career in building organizations that were interconnected worldwide. And we developed several layers of organizational structure, which is the boring part, but if we keep in mind the importance of connecting to the individual, we divided the world into three areas, and the three members of the executive committee oversee each one of those areas. For example, my responsibility is Europe, Africa, Asia, and Oceania. Nathan has oversight of US and Canada, and our Vice President, Jairo Fernando Gonzalez, oversees Latin America. And then it was important for us to put onto those area committees members of the board of directors and to identify and assign regional leaders from each of those areas of the world. We have multiple regions, 22 different regions worldwide that are part of these three areas. Those regional leaders oversee 69 chapters that are organized somewhere in the world. And that number is still yet to grow a significant amount. I continue in my areas to be in contact with individuals or small groups of individuals do the best that they can accomplish right now, and particularly during this time when the pandemic has required us to be quarantined or locked down. The best that these young people particularly can do is to be online with each other, to have community across a messenger account. But it's the beginning of a community. We're happy to report that as these regional leaders work with chapters and the development of chapters, that it has become a much more meaningful connection. There's support being felt. Programs of affirmation are being reached into so many different parts of the world at this time. But yet there's still so much left to grow and to build and to do. There's a tremendous amount of volunteer leadership in affirmation that's needed. As we talked about Giving Tuesday, one of the ways in which you can give support to affirmation is to volunteer your time as a regional or chapter leader. If anyone listening tonight has interest in being a part of affirmation and its local or regional leadership, just reach out to us. You'd be invited to participate and put to good work and to good use. And this would be particularly true in areas outside the United States and Canada, which I hope some of you are hearing this now or in the replay of this later. Volunteer leaders are of so much importance to the progress and the continuation of affirmation. Our responsibility is to provide you as volunteer leaders direction and training and resources so that you can be successful in supporting the work that's ongoing. But what I favor so much about this organization is that it is locally led by LGBTQ individuals. And together we're the largest and oldest LGBTQ-led organization in the world for the interface with our life issues and spirituality and religion. I'm just so grateful to be a part of this and excited to be able to share the opportunity to serve in affirmation with each of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori, for that great overview of how Affirmation is organizing all over the world. And part of that, we wanted to make sure that we included the third member of the executive committee in tonight's broadcast, who is Jairo, and he's in Colombia. And we got a video from him straight from Colombia earlier today, which we have translated and transcribed for you and subtitled, and we're going to go ahead and show it now.
Buenas noches. Me gusta estar con ustedes ahora, así estemos lejos, para comentarle algunas de nuestras realidades sobre lo que es afirmación en Latinoamérica. Yo empezaría por comentarles que caminar por cualquier calle de Latinoamérica es enfrentarse a una diversidad cultural que uno no podría imaginar. Literalmente en nuestras ciudades y pueblos hay muchas sensaciones que te atrapan de un modo penetrante y en cierto modo peligroso. Nada es igual en ninguno de nuestros pueblos. Todos son tan distintos y a todos ellos tenemos que saber llegar. Afirmación ha tenido que sobrevivir para hacer visible su cometido. No es una supervivencia sencilla ni cómoda, ¿sí? Estamos atrapados en una red de pasiones, de círculos viciosos, de persecuciones, de criterios. Es en esta telaraña donde muchos vienen y van. Los líderes del pasado no son los del presente. Y aún así estamos construyendo líderes para el futuro. Eso lo estamos haciendo en el día a día. Despojarnos de esa realidad es tratar de ocultar esta continua necesidad de reinventarnos que todos tenemos. Pero hemos sido capaces de sobrevivir en el pasado y tenemos que ser capaces de enfrentar el presente y el futuro. Como lo he dicho ya, no es nada sencillo, no es nada cómodo, pero es algo en lo cual tenemos que saber sobresalir. Hemos sido también capaces de desarrollar empatía y amistad y imaginar la fórmula mágica que nos permita conciliar el pasado y el presente, sociedad y cultura, mormonismo y autenticidad. Hace poco más de 20 años vivíamos una realidad que nada se parece al mundo actual. Esta realidad de los fines de los años 90 difiere de un modo enorme de lo que es la realidad del mundo presente. Afirmación en ese entonces era un asomo de lo que eran los deseos de sus fundadores, pero trasladar esos deseos de lo que fue en su momento las reuniones originales en California y en Utah a vivirlas en Bogotá o en México no es lo mismo, es algo muy complejo. Nosotros nos circunscribíamos a una élite que tenía acceso a medios en aquella época, ¿sí? Mientras algunos de nosotros teníamos acceso a esa realidad desde el punto de vista virtual, otros muchos se enfrentaban a realidades impuestas por el género y las diferencias, y por una sociedad que es intensamente patriarcal y muy dura, una realidad que es muy difícil de entender desde la comodidad que tenemos hoy en nuestros medios. Muchos de nosotros somos entonces herederos de una generación perdida en el tiempo, que trata de conciliar religión y nuestro sentir. Aunque América es una sola, lo único cierto y real es que al sur del Río Grande hay un abismo en cultura, en costumbres y en formas, que nada se parece al mundo imaginable. Los precipicios se han cerrado hoy es ignorar el peso de instituciones patriarcales, de modelos machistas y de convicciones que aún se confunden con el fanatismo. Es así como Afirmación debe reconocer y reconoce el papel preponderante que tiene en el proceso de cambio. Estamos implementando modelos adecuados a nuestros objetivos que en nada se reconocen en su contexto. Las reacciones se dejan sentir de manera diferente en cada escenario, y no es fácil acercarse de una manera uniforme a comunidades tan disímiles como Brasil y sus antepasados imperiales y africanos, Argentina y Chile como exponentes de la migración europea, o mestizajes pronunciados como en Colombia o Centroamérica, o culturas ancestrales enormes y muy hermosas como lo pueden ser en México, Guatemala o Perú. Sin embargo, a pesar de nuestros orígenes tan diversos, en Afirmación estamos tratando y hemos buscado encontrar un punto común, conciliar religión y fe. Hemos avanzado mucho en estos años, ya que la virtualidad de los años 90 se han convertido en comunidades vivas. Seguimos sosteniendo desafíos porque nuestros grupos se encuentran geográficamente dispersos, pero trabajamos en la construcción de liderazgos que permiten mantener la calidad de la organización y el reconocimiento de nuestros objetivos. Somos chicos y seguimos enfrentando desafíos y oposición, pero queremos reclamar para Latinoamérica la visión que ya tuvieron nuestros fundadores y que se sintetiza en los objetivos de Afirmación. 2020 nos ha devuelto, nos ha puesto de cabeza. Probablemente pasará mucho tiempo antes de volver a fundirnos en un abrazo, pero estamos recuperando un espacio, un eslabón de fe y un principio que nos ayuda a ser uno solo, desde el estrecho de Magallanes hasta el Río Grande y más allá. Trabajamos para volver a nuestros objetivos. Hay líderes nuevos y algunos de nosotros vienen y van, pero finalmente volveremos a reconocernos en cada país y en general como una organización enorme, la organización que seremos y somos. Muchas gracias.
I just love Jairo's passion for organizing affirmation in Latin America, and I love what he said about us eventually being able to come together in one great big warm hug again as an organization after this pandemic has passed. I don't think I introduced myself when we started this evening. I'm Joel McDonald. I'm the operations director for Affirmation, and I want to apologize for some of the technical audio difficulties we're having this evening. These are a lot of lessons learned, and part of a bigger lesson learned, and that we're all going through right now, and how to better connect digitally one with another. One of the things I wanted to talk about this evening is the amazing, I just lost my light, the amazing work that our chapter and regional leadership is doing around the United States, Canada, and really the world. We're seeing amazing virtual events being put on to keep Affirmation connected and supporting one another. from leadership trainings that are happening in the Pacific region, to concerts and weekly devotionals in Chicago, to an interview series that are happening in Affirmation Hawaii. Many more of these kinds of events are happening all over the place in our regions and chapters, trying to make sure that we stay connected in this time of COVID pandemic. And one of our roles right now is to try to make sure that we can support this work that our regions and chapters are doing. And your support of Affirmation helps us continue to be able to do that. So I just want to give kudos to our local leadership teams that are really rising to the task of making sure that they're providing community and support even in this time where we can't all be together. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Lori Lee, who's going to talk a bit about some changes this year to our international conference.
Hello again. So, as so many other organizations have had to do, and as Joel has just explained, we have also faced the concern of how do we handle, how do we hold an international conference. Affirmation has a reputation for holding a large international conference, many hundreds of thousands or hundreds of people coming together in some part of the United States typically, and this has happened over many, many years, going back many years. The opportunity, as Jairo expressed and as Joel described, of coming together this year is still, even at this time, undecided, undetermined. And so several weeks ago, probably about 6 weeks ago, as an executive committee, we began to ask the question, do we have to postpone the international conference that we had scheduled for September in Provo, Utah? Or do we have the capacity in our leadership and in our expertise and our technology and our desire to connect with people to lift ourselves up and provide leadership at the level of the difficult and challenging times that we now live in? None of us can say exactly what life here in the United States or in other parts of the world is going to look like come September. But one thing we're very hopeful to be able to do is to reach out in a way far outside of the box of how we've ever been able to hold international conference before and reach truly the full international community. Rather than a single weekend devoted to coming together in one place, the International Conference Planning Committee is now preparing a schedule of activities and events that will occur over 4 weekends in September and October, with specific opportunities, events, broadcasts, workshops, plenary sessions, home evenings, youth track opportunities, devotionals, story sharing, all of these different things occurring at different times throughout the course of those 4 weekends. Broadcast through various means such as Facebook Live and or Zoom meetings, interactive Zoom meetings for workshops, a host of things that we're still planning that I can't fully explain at this point. But we're extremely excited that this challenge has actually put us in a position to think about international conference differently and to be able to reach far more people throughout the Affirmation world, individually, in their chapters and in their homes if they're unable to travel at all, and touch them with elements of Affirmation's International Conference that can strengthen their lives, that can provide them support and community and even interface as they engage with others in different parts of the world through these means that we've all become familiar with. I believe that our international conference this year will be the best offering that Affirmation has ever been able to make. I believe that it will touch and reach more lives and affect them for good than we've been able to ever do before. And I think every conference and our offerings going forward in internationally and in regions will be improved and more effective because of the things that we're learning to do now, and the way that it's stretching us to think outside of the box and to reach beyond our natural capacities to do something really special for the community of affirmation around the world. I hope that everyone listening will become convinced and promote this opportunity, and that all of affirmation will be able to come together, even virtually, and embrace and be one again. We recognize that our community has a tendency to sometimes feel isolated and to feel alone. And by doing these things, we can connect and retain connection with each other, even if we can't formally come together. And so until we can meet again, we'll continue to meet and reach out and hold each other virtually. And I appreciate the opportunity to share these thoughts with you.
Thank you, Lori, for that. All of us who are involved in planning this year's international conference are really excited about the opportunities this will provide to connect with even more people than an in-person conference will have. And we are, again, learning a lot of lessons right now on how to best deliver content for that conference to make it an amazing experience for everyone who participates. For more information, I'm sure we'll send out emails and Facebook posts and social media posts, but you can always go to conference.affirmation.org for the latest information there. And we'll be starting to populate some schedule information over the next week on that page. Now we're going to turn it back to Nathan to talk about how affirmation has been serving as a significant voice in the LGBTQIA Mormon community here in recent months.
All right, thank you, Joel. I share in this excitement that Lori has expressed about our international community. Over the past 5-6 weeks, as I have met with affirmation chapters around the world in their meetings, as they meet together online, and we've talked about the possibility of moving conference in a new direction. In what I would call, this year we are bringing conference to you. I've had many people from outside the United States and those in that have been expressed such happiness that this will be the first time that they will be able to participate in an international conference with all of their peers and feel like they're a part of something that is their themselves. And it's going to be blessed. And we will see people who've never been to an international conference join with us, learn what affirmation really is all about. I'm excited to part of the tracks that we will offer. Affirmation is partnering with Mormon Building Bridge to offer an academic track where we will have preeminent scholars in the LGBTQ community that will present their work and papers concerning us as a community and how we interact with the world. And I'm very much looking forward to this new opportunity and this new track and new direction. So stay tuned. There is a lot of more, there are many, many more great things that are coming as we continue to build this outside of the box, very effective affirmation conference this year. As far as being a voice in affirmation, affirmation has been recognized as representing many people. And I think we go back to the line that I always refer to in our charter and bylaws that says, despite an executive committee, despite a board of directors, despite chapter and regional leadership, the governing authority and voice in affirmation is the members themselves. And so I take this very seriously, and I listen to what the voices are in affirmation. So when I am asked by outside organizations what we think, what we're up to, I have had conversations and I know what people are thinking and what best say to help represent the wide opinions of certain events that people ask us for. One of the great things that we participate in as an organization last year is Brigham Young University asked Affirmation to be part of a roundtable conference weekend to help improve relationships between the university and the LGBTQIA plus community. And to be able to be a part of that, to be able to conduct workshops and discussions with faculty, with administration, with students. It was an opportunity that was really great to have our voice be heard in areas that it hasn't really been heard before. Affirmation got started, and it was almost a coming home for Affirmation to return and be able to speak with people and talk about the issues that are important to us. This directly led to the ability of BYU appreciate what Affirmation is about, and the help of our regional director in the Pacific area, Sarah Bowers. We organized BYU Hawaii, which is comprised mainly of BYU Hawaii groups. Affirmation Hawaii is. And within 1 to 2 weeks, we had an instant community chapter of over 120 people, mostly students, who were searching for this community that Affirmation can provide. These are the things that we do as we give voice, because it shows who we are and what our needs are. And once people get to know us and understand, it really does open doors for us. So to be able to effectively speak what Affirmation does is very important. And anytime any news breaks in the LGBTQIA plus Mormon intersection, we're first call. We are first call from press, from AP, from television stations, from radio, and other print media who are interested in what we are thinking about the current events today. And with your help, we can continue to broadcast the face of what all LGBTQIA people are feeling and thinking, who have had this Mormon experience, who sat in the Mormon intersection clear at some point. And our voices are important to be heard, but regardless of these outside voices, the voices that really matter to me are the strong voices that we have inside of our community with ourselves. And it's this inside voice that is the most important to me. Through our suicide program, and we have voiced to one another that we care about you. We care about what is happening. And we want to help. And through suicide awareness and prevention programs, we have created a network of who can understand and recognize the signs of someone who needs help, who needs to be reminded that people care and love them, and immediately get them to professional help. This has been a long and wonderful program we've had to provide training for our members through Affirmation to be a voice for one another, to be a voice of hope, because hope is what does save lives. We have mentors in Affirmation who have been on the journey, understand what happens and what life is, and how life really is great, and to be LGBTQIA coming to be celebrated. And no matter what you choose to do, you have the right to choose to stand where you can. You have to be where you want to be. And for so long as a community, we have not had that ability for any reasons. And now that we have that, to be able to connect with mentors, to be able to make these choices in society and to have help in the community is highly important. I look at my job as president to literally be a connector of people. How can I facilitate people and get them together? You know as well as I do that we take a lot of good things from our Mormon heritage, and the things that maybe not so good, we leave. One of the things we do very well is put us in a room, 2, 3, 5 of us, and within 5 minutes, we have a project of something we want to do, we organize it, we get it done. And my job is just to understand you what to do in affirmation. There's 2 specific examples I can think of. One, about 3 or 4 years ago, I had just come out, and I found affirmation, and the divorce of children. And I thought I was alone. I thought I was an oddball. I didn't realize that that was a thing. And about 4 of us got together and asked affirmation if we could start a Fathers in Affirmation group. Affirmation cleared the space for us, gave us sources, and today, 3, 4 years later, we in Affirmation have 350 people, queer fathers, who are part of this group. And this is the kind of space and connections that affirmation wants to give to what you want to do, what projects you want to do. The other one that I am reminded of is we were approached by some youth leaders who really wanted to create a space for 18 to 25-year-old LGBTQIA people in affirmation. And much like how we did with Fathers in Affirmation years ago, they presented their plan. It was a succinct idea, and we cleared the space to create a track in a space that never has been really well thought out in affirmation. And we have leaders who are moving the Crossroads group forward. They will have their own track in our international conference. These are the things that we desire to do as an executive committee and as a board, is to help you facilitate what you do to make it really special for you, to be kind of a community that you're excited to be a part of, to do something. And like Lori said, we need of those who want to help build community, those that want to help lead in regions and chapters, those that have really great ideas to how we come together and do something. That's how affirmation works. This is really a lateral leadership experience. And we want to foster this leadership very much laterally to make a space and an age really speaks to you. The affirmation that we have today is not the same affirmation that we had 5, 6, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. And affirmation has dozens of presidents, many executive committee members, people that have led it. And each of us get a turn to help bring affirmation to how it needs to speak to you as members. And I am looking forward to see you join with us. And if you are with us, thank you. And I'm here to help you and to help you move forward. So that's how I feel about voices in affirmation. Strong external voice and a very strong internal voice full of LGBTQIA connected peers around the world.
Thank you, Nathan. That's a really great summary of how we all work in affirmation at the international level, right down to the chapter level, and the voice that not only we're hearing from everybody within, but the voice that we put out as well. And those things are so incredibly important. I wanted to take a little bit tonight to talk about some of the nuts and bolts of affirmation as a nonprofit organization. So the affirmation community is exactly what Nathan was just describing. Affirmation as a nonprofit is a bit more of a formal structure, and there's a lot of things that have to get done. And I always view the nonprofit organization as the thing that sustains and keeps the affirmation community going. The work that we do behind the scenes on budgeting and finance and technology support, all of these sorts of things allow the work of affirmation at all levels to happen. And this year, we find ourselves as a nonprofit organization in the same boat that many nonprofits have found themselves, many businesses have found themselves, and many individuals have found themselves in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier this year, before the virus really started taking hold, the Affirmation Board of Directors passed a $197,000 budget. $75,000 of that budget was to come from large and major donors. So people that are giving $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 or more dollars. Sadly, what not only Affirmation, but many nonprofits across the United States are finding is that these larger donors aren't so quick to donate the way that they would in a normal year. So individuals that have written $20,000 checks to Affirmation in the past, are holding out right now for better times financially. But the conversation in Affirmation for a while now has been how important it is to engage the community in supporting the nonprofit that sustains the community. And one of the things that I had looked at earlier this week, thinking about what I would share during this broadcast, is just sort of the magnitude of impact that the community can have. Affirmation on its email list is about 3,000 strong. Our Facebook page is, I think, around 14,000 right now. Membership in our over 50 Facebook groups is over 20,000 members. There are a lot of people engaging with Affirmation. There are less than 200 actual dues-paying members to Affirmation as an organization. And so one of the things that we would like you to think about is, as you engage with Affirmation and understand the needs of the organization that sustains the community, that you would think about your impact among the many that you can have even by becoming a member or making a small donation. We would love to see a time when Affirmation is really driven financially by the support of the community members that are daily engaged with Affirmation, so that we're not dependent necessarily on those who are able to write the larger checks. Of course, we welcome them too. There's nothing against them, but we are stronger as an organization and stronger as a community if we're all supporting it. And one of the things I wanted to share as a response to the COVID-19 is part of the CARES Act actually made donating to nonprofits this year beneficial beyond just supporting the nonprofit to U.S. taxpayers. If you remember, in 2017, the tax code changed and the standard deduction, I think, doubled. And what you saw is a lot of people no longer able to itemize and gain a benefit from contributing to nonprofits. The CARES Act, in response to COVID-19, to help nonprofits like Affirmation survive during this time, is expanded deductibility of contributions to nonprofits in addition to the standard deduction. So this is something that we will definitely share in more detail, probably via email very soon. You can research this, what the CARES Act is doing for nonprofits. But if tax deductibility is something you're looking for to support nonprofits like Affirmation, I hope that will help you in that decision. And at this point, we were going to turn it over for a bit of a Q&A time. And so I'm going to put everybody on screen, and we're going to look at the Facebook Live chat here and see if there are any questions. And so I don't see any posted yet. James, I've seen your message about becoming a sustaining member of Affirmation. Thank you so much for doing that. That is wonderful. And so we'll just wait a second because we know that there's a little bit of lag in between what we say and what you hear. So we will wait a bit for information. I'm gonna Nathan, maybe you would know an answer to this. Dan Christensen asked, shouldn't gamma fights and reconciliation be acknowledged as roots of the Fathers group? I don't know if you have some historical information about that.
Absolutely. Fathers in Affirmation stands on the shoulders of some very great men and queer fathers of decades ago who also gathered together. I had the chance a couple of international conferences ago to meet with one of the founders and presidents of Gamma Fights. And it was a group that met together in the same way that Fathers does. And the thing that we noticed about Gamma Fights is Gamma Fights it kind of faded away for a lot of reasons, and it left at that point a time where there was a need for fathers to meet again. And so we've seen this a lot in Affirmation, where there's ebbs and there's flows. And for instance, we had a group in Hawaii for many years. And then part of the ebb was we didn't have people in Hawaii. And then we meet with BYU, and we have 150, 200 BYU Hawaii students that want to congregate. And now we have an active BYU Hawaii chapter. Just because we see us organized like this again doesn't mean that we forget our history. I mean, we have 43 years of people being together and forming these really great communities. And Gamma Fights is one of those. And I appreciate those who still are part of this affirmation, who bring their talents and help us build one with another and really help us what our history is, because we're really not so different. I've been through most of the old newsletters of affirmation of the past 30, 40 years. They've been archived. And to read the things that our affirmation siblings spoke 15, 20, 30 years ago, it sounds much like what is happening today. We are not only connected around the world as a worldwide organization, we are connected through the generations of this really great movement of moving LGBTQ people out of obscurity and into the light and into being able to make the same decisions as our straight cisgender peers make in their everyday life. So this is a thank you to those that have been in affirmation and done these things before us. We stand in your footsteps.
So we received a couple questions clarifying how conference would be held this year. So the current thinking and schedule is that international conference this year, instead of a one weekend in-person event in Provo, will be spread out over 4 weeks of content. And that schedule is still being developed. But in places where gatherings can happen, either in regions or chapters, we're encouraging those leadership teams to host something locally so that it's more of a hybrid virtual in-person event where we can. So we're also really hoping that some of the speakers that we might not have been able to get in person at conference will be able to participate in conference this year in this format, either live or pre-recorded or something of that sort. So the conference planning committee is hard at work trying to build out the schedule and figure out how best to deliver an experience that is not just about sitting down and watching videos, but is interactive and beneficial to everyone that's involved. So thank you for that.
And be sure that these sessions are not going to take up your whole day. You will be able to snack on these affirmation sessions in ways that are comfortable to do online. And like Joel said, we really want a hybrid of where people can meet together in numbers that are safe to actually be together. And like Jairo says, to be able to embrace again we are missing that ability of contacting and being together in person. And so that is part of our plan of what will be happening.
So Kyle Ashworth just posted a really interesting data-based question, which obviously gets my attention, being that I live in spreadsheets half the time. So basically, Kyle was asking, his experience was at another conference we went to, 60% of the participants were first-timers at the conference, where the retention rate was less than 20%. And so the question is, what's our thoughts or plan to hold on to people after they participate in something like the Affirmation Conference, International Conference?
Joel, the way that I would address that ties back to what I spoke to earlier, which is in some ways, affirmation in many cases provides responsiveness like an emergency room, like a trauma hospital. We often catch folks when they are in great need. The opportunity to come to conference and see something larger than myself and my own experience, to be able to enjoy that camaraderie and hear other people's experiences, even in our case going forward, that maybe virtually, that is a wonderful thing. But the reality is, just as Kyle points out, is that after the conference occurs and people go home, it was a great event in their lives. And how can it become something more? Well, the something more is to make ourselves available to serve in affirmation after we've had the great experience, after we've found the love, the embrace, to turn around and then provide that for others. So whether it's being someone in a supportive location in a local chapter, or serving as a regional leader, or as a resource on a committee, there are many, many ways to serve in affirmation. And our hope, I think, as an executive committee and the board of directors, is that many people will take that next step in their lives to stay involved in affirmation and to give back to the community that in all likelihood has given to them first.
I think that's a great answer. Thank you so much. I don't see any additional questions, but we will pause momentarily in case one comes in because of broadcast delay that there is sometimes. I think expanding on what Rory shared about keeping people engaged, I think affirmations shift and focus to organizing and sustaining the local chapters and regions provides an opportunity to stay engaged. I've heard people speak of affirmation in sort of terms that affirmation is the international conference, like that's affirmation. But that's quickly becoming one of the major things that we do. But the day in and day out has really focused on supporting our chapter leaders, figuring out the resources that we need to give them, identifying those that are willing to serve and be engaged. And if you're able to go to a local event, 3-4 times a year, that means a lot, especially if you can't get to international conference. So it's not only keeping those that can go to international conference engaged, it's trying to engage those that don't have that opportunity at all. And so I think that's an important part of what we're doing right now in affirmation. Kyle says it's Gay General Conference. All right. Well, I don't see any additional questions coming in. You can always... Oh, hold on. One just popped in. What communication is affirmation and the church having? And I think we'll just throw that out to probably Nathan.
Well, sure. For the past, I would say maybe 5 or 6 years, Affirmation has had a direct contact. Back when public affairs was a department at the church, and then they reorganized and became the church communications department. All through that, we have had a connection and a contact. And we are always sure that we always reach out to our contact. And we do this formally by actually making an appointment, and we go and visit. And we talk about the most vulnerable people in Affirmation, who we have a great concern about, and the church also has a great concern about. And we speak about what's important to us as LGBTQIA individuals, and stand up for ourselves, and about the things that matter to us, and offer ourselves as a resource. I remember Lori offering us as a resource to be able to write more trauma-aware headlines when they come out. And the church communications department was very interested in that. We will create opportunities for members of Affirmation to come and share their stories with church leaders on Temple Square, so that church leaders can hear the stories from LGBTQIA individuals from all around the world. And as you know, our stories are a major source of healing for us, and they help others get to know us. And they help bring kind of a human level on what we desire as LGBTQIA individuals, and that we're not an other people. I mean, we are you. We're part of your families. We don't exist in a vacuum as just a gay person, lesbian person, or someone who is a transgender individual. We all exist as part of a family. We all have families, and as families, we are part of you. And that's been a very effective kind of cast on how we've spoken. And I have the phone. I will call our contact. And I've had many long conversations, especially after in the op-eds I've written or interviews that we had, just to touch base to see if they have any questions about the things that Affirmation has said. And so it just helps open up a channel of communication. This is not us as an organization trying to reconcile everyone and get everyone back to church. It's just a good way to be able to speak, to be able to share what so many of us feel and what our life experiences are. And any information that can reach there is highly beneficial. And like Harvey Milk said, if you're able to come out, let people get to know who you are. And this is the same thing that we do. We come out, we tell our stories so that people can know who we are and hear the things important to us. And those things change hearts and
Thank you.
So,
Sorry?
I would also add that there are examples where not only have we reached out for an opportunity to talk with church leaders, but that our contact at Church Communications has also reached out to Nathan and myself. A recent example of that was when the church was about to announce and release its new handbook. We both received very sensitive and thoughtful connection with our contact in Church Communications, who wanted to be sure that we were aware of what was happening and their interest in knowing how our community would be receiving the changes that were going to be announced. I felt that that confirmed to us that we are on equal standing with these individuals. We see them eye to eye. We're leaders in an important community, and we're also community partners overseeing the needs of individuals where our interests overlap. Our families are often families that are in the church and on its rolls. In many cases, we have been hurt by the things that the church as a whole has done. And they're aware of that and want to be able to understand. I sense that they listen, and although it doesn't cause immediate changes, and we're certainly not in a position to lobby the church to make major changes, I believe that there is a growing understanding and sensitivity that our voice matters in their conversations internally, which is delightful to me. But in the same fashion, it's important for us to recognize that affirmation does not take direction from the church. Affirmation is not guided by church decisions, directions, or policy, nor do we take a stand on church doctrine. But we foster a community partnership because of our interest in what they do, that it has an effect on those whom we care for and minister to and love.
Thank you. Rich Keys asks, if you're a dues-paying member, what are the calendar dates that annual dues covers? Well, if you pay dues annually, it is literally from the date that you join. So if you were to join annually tomorrow, your membership would be good for 365 days. If you are someone that pays their dues monthly, like our sustaining members are able to do, then it is literally month to month. And so there's two ways of doing that. So anyone can join annually with auto pay, annually with an email reminding them to renew, or auto pay monthly. All right, we'll wait just a few moments for any. Kyle says, thanks, Lori, for the answer. I think it's spot on. Rich Keys asks if there was any communication between Affirmation and the church regarding the handling of the recent BYU honor code changes.
It was crickets. That's all I can say. And I don't know why. And I don't. If you have read the things that I wrote, and I would especially refer you to the things that I spoke with Lisa Diedrich about in the interview that she gave to me in the San Diego paper. It was just a lot of chaos that happened. I think in that chaos, there was really no ability. They did not really reach out. I don't even know that people knew at the highest levels exactly how this was going to play out. So we didn't have any communication, but we sure have a lot of great things to say and things that we could help represent. Students that really had a hard time and couldn't really speak out in these ways because they are part of the BYU community. And why jeopardize your degree when you can have your peers outside the university speak these things that need to be said.
All right, we are just passing about an hour and 11 minutes in what we had initially thought would be a little short of an hour-long broadcast. And we've got 27 folks still with us, so really happy to see that that most of our audience has stayed with us throughout the evening. If there's any additional questions, you can feel free to send any of us an email. There's a contact form on the website where you can definitely reach us with general questions or questions about the website or membership or anything of that sort. But I think for right now, we will throw it to Nathan to kind of summarize our evening and to send us off.
All right, thank you, Joel. I want to thank you for hosting this, and thank you, Lori, for your words, and Jairo, thank you. To hear your love for the work that's happening in the Latin America area, it's just inspiring to hear that. I have just briefly two asks tonight. The first one is an ask to put me to work, put the executive committee and board to work. We are meeting in June to create a strategic plan that will guide the organization for the next 3 years. Your voice, because as members, what you want to do is highly important in what we do when we create a strategic plan. We need a work plan that we can work from. As we drift around, we don't know what's happening. So it's highly important to know and to hear from you as community members what you want to see, what you want to feel, and how you want to serve an affirmation. Then we can create work plans that work around this and help you do what you desire in affirmation. Here at the middle of May, we will be sending out a general survey to you, if you are on our mailing list, to survey what your current thoughts and what your desires are for affirmation. My ask is to find that, to receive that, and to fill that out and return that. That will be the way that I can hear what affirmation members are speaking and saying. And from that, we can help create a work plan that will be really meaningful. Like I mentioned before, Affirmation 2020 is different from Affirmation 2011 as far as where we need to move forward as a people. It's different from Affirmation 1980. It's different from Affirmation 1990. All of the people in Affirmation at those times were doing things that were important and needed to be done and said. And in order to remain relevant, we need to know what your voice is today, so we can create what you desire to have from the support of the community. Because we're it when we build a community like this. And we want you to let us know through the survey, so be watching for that. And then the second thing is I just want to thank you, those that are here tonight watching, who are members, and those who will be members. We have never wanted a membership to be a barrier for those who are most vulnerable to seek and find a community. There's nothing worse than saying you have to pay money to be able to receive a great deal of help from your LGBTQ peers. We want that to never be a barrier. But for many of us in Affirmation, we have made it. The journey we have is we're in a place where we're past that vulnerable stage. We understand ourselves. And my ask is if you are in that position and it's no longer a barrier to be a member, to join, and to financially help support Affirmation, so that we can create these specific areas that will help our LGBTQ colleagues in whatever journey, whatever we need to do to feel like we're in a great, safe, and loving community, where we provide refuge, where we provide help for one another, and where we just build these strong communities of friendship. So please consider becoming a member. And when you go to our Affirmation website, you will see that there's two ways to become a member. Like Rich, I think it was Rich Keys asked, you can choose to just pay the typical registration fee, which in the United States is $35, and in Latin America and other developing countries it's $10. And that will make you a member for a year. But I would strongly ask all of you who are here tonight to become a sustaining member of Affirmation. And you can also become a member by donating $10 a month. And just a small donation of $10 a month not only creates you as a member, but it also helps provide fund the things that are important for you to do, whether it be regional gatherings, conferences, our internet support, and things that will help us bring Affirmation to you around the world. Tonight I want to announce that we have an additional level that we are going to introduce here on Giving Tuesday. And this is if you become a sustaining member at $25. We have created an Affirmation exclusive t-shirt, which will be yours. It is our Love is the Greatest of All t-shirt. And the word love is in big capital print, and the word all is in big capital print. So from far away, it looks like you're wearing a shirt that says love all, and then you see the entire logo, which is love is the greatest of all, with our Affirmation A logo. This is just one small way that we can get back to you. You can have something to help identify that you are helping Affirmation at a $25 level. So when you go to make that donation, look for that page and become a $25 sustaining member, $25 a month sustaining member. And we will happily give you some swag here, and you can wear proudly. And I just again want to say I appreciate you all, and we are ready for anyone who wants to be a leader and to help in affirmation. And I am looking very forward to hearing all of your feedback as we create a strategic plan that is meaningful to you in the year 2020. So thank you very much.